Hey, what time do you think it is now?
Looking at the clock, it's only 5:30. It's still 5:30. Why are you up so early like this? I replied with sleepy eyes, but Jeff kept on relentlessly.
What do you mean it's still 5:30? It's common sense for the wife to wake up earlier than the husband, wear makeup, and prepare breakfast.
I doubted my ears hearing such shouting in the morning from Jeff. I wonder which era we're in right now. It's like lines from a mean mother-in-law in an old drama. Since marrying Jeff, we have separate bedrooms and absolutely no intimacy at night. Then, one day, Jeff collapsed at work and had to be rushed to emergency surgery. While waiting outside the operating room, I heard a young doctor scream,
What on earth is this?
"Through this surgery, I would come to learn Jeff's surprising secret. And also, how difficult my own position really is now." I realized that I could not go on as I was, and with the help of others, I recovered my true self. My name is Sarah. I'm a 42-year-old homemaker assisting with a small business. Back when I was single, I worked as a caregiver at a hospital. I had a fulfilling job, but I was the only one who wasn't married among my friends. Both of my parents had already passed away, leaving me alone at home and feeling pressured to get married. Then one day, while feeling lonely at a bar, a man approached me.
Well, is this seat taken?
That's what the man who would become my current husband, Jeff, said as he approached. Jeff is 3 years older than me and runs a small manufacturing company independently. Listening to his story, it seemed he was also single like me, without a significant other. As we shared stories about our lives, we hit it off. As two mature single individuals, I had hoped for a somewhat romantic evening, but that day I made him promise to see him next and went home early. After that, our relationship naturally began, and we went on dates once a week. Dates with Jeff, who was serious and reserved, consisted mainly of quiet conversations in cafes or parks. However, I gradually found myself drawn to his seemingly good-natured personality. And it was on our third date since we met.
Well, considering our age and all, it's not really ideal to just keep dating aimlessly, right?
Watching Jeff nervously fidget as he spoke, I felt a slight sense of anticipation. Well, you see.
Yeah, we've only been dating for less than a month, but since we're close in age and all, I was thinking, why don't we get married? Is that okay?
It was definitely an unusual proposal, but I was also feeling pressured about marriage, and I thought Jeff was a good guy, so I replied with a quick yes without hesitation. No, not at all, I'd be happy to. Upon my immediate acceptance, Jeff beamed with delight. Since neither of us had parents, we decided to skip the wedding ceremony and just register our marriage. I quit my job to help out at Jeff's company after we got married, and thus began married life with Jeff. However, it was also the start of days filled with anguish. From the time we met until we got married, there had been no physical intimacy between Jeff and me. I had assumed Jeff, being a serious person, simply didn't engage in relationships casually. I believed that once we were married, we could enjoy a reasonably normal married life. That's what I believed, but on the first day of our marriage, Jeff had an unexpected commitment.
I'll sleep in the bedroom, so Sarah, you sleep in the guest room.
Jeff's statement surprised me, and I couldn't help but respond with a voice of discontent. So you mean we separate sleeping, even though we're newlyweds? Even when I questioned it, Jeff calmly asserted his opinion without batting an eye.
Well, you see, I have trouble sleeping in the same room as others.
Despite feeling dissatisfied with his explanation, I didn't want to argue on the first day, so I couldn't say anything more. The next morning, I had set my alarm for 6 o'clock, but I was startled awake by sudden loud voices.
Hey, what time do you think it is now?
Looking at the clock, it's only 5:30. It's still 5:30. Why are you up so early like this? I replied with sleepy eyes, but Jeff continued relentlessly.
What do you mean it's still 5:30? It's common sense for the wife to wake up earlier than the husband, wear makeup, and prepare breakfast.
Hearing Jeff shouting like that in the morning made me doubt my ears. I wondered what era we were living in. It sounded like lines from a mean mother-in-law in an old drama. I thought that, but when I looked at Jeff's face, it was a frightening expression I had never seen before. Feeling that I couldn't oppose it, I quickly changed and started preparing the meal. It might be obvious, but even if we have separate bedrooms, we eat together. As we sat around the dining table facing each other, something caught my attention. Even though it was already July, Jeff was wearing a long-sleeved sweater. I wondered if I needed to prepare summer clothes for him, and decided to ask Jeff about it. "I'll have your summer clothes ready soon." In response to my question, Jeff, seemingly choking on his food, hastily coughed and said,
No, I dress like this all year round, so I'm fine with summer clothes. I'm sensitive to the cold, you know. In the upcoming season, it's easy to get chilled with the air conditioning, right?
If he's sensitive to the cold, then it makes sense. Still, there's no need to rush like that. It seemed somewhat unnatural, but I didn't know how to respond. Since then, despite going to work in the morning to help at the company, Jeff tells me, be back home by evening to prepare dinner, so I return home early. Jeff gives detailed instructions not only about meals but also about cleaning and laundry, so I don't have time to relax even when I come home early. I clean every corner of the house, neatly fold the dry laundry, and tidy up. And since getting married, it's become my routine to prepare dinner and take a bath before Jeff returns. Jeff is the old-fashioned type of husband who doesn't lift a finger to help around the house. I understand he's busy as a manager, but I wish he'd lend a hand with the housework at least a little. But if I say anything that might bother Jeff, he might start yelling again. As I was preparing dinner, I found myself thinking, why did I even get married? Since then, our bedrooms have been separate, so there hasn't been any intimacy at night. I don't feel happy at all, even though we got married with such hopes. Perhaps I've not only lost happiness but also lost sight of my true self. Feeling overwhelmed by these thoughts, tears began to flow uncontrollably from my eyes. As I sat there, quietly crying to myself, my phone rang around 5 in the evening. It was a call from one of my female co-workers.
Hey, Sarah. It's urgent. The boss suddenly collapsed, so please head to the hospital right away.
I was speechless upon hearing this. Sensing my distress, the coworker calmly informed me of the hospital's name. Trying to compose myself, I thanked him and immediately called for a taxi. I arrived at the hospital and was shown to the procedure room where Jeff was. I was instructed to wait outside the door, so I took a seat on the chair placed there. The door to the treatment room opened, and a seasoned physician, about the same age as Jeff, emerged from within. I stood up and approached the doctor. "Excuse me, I'm Jeff's wife. How is my husband's condition?"
Oh, you're his wife. Your husband's condition is stable, but he needs to be hospitalized immediately for surgery.
"Really? I see. Well, thank you very much." After exchanging greetings with the doctor, I left for home without seeing Jeff, only completing the hospitalization and surgery procedures. Normally, I should have stayed by his side. The doctors and nurses might have thought I was being cold-hearted, but I just couldn't bring myself to accompany Jeff, with whom I hadn't connected emotionally. On the day of the surgery, instead of being present for Jeff before the operation, I visited the hospital around the time the surgery was beginning. As I waited outside, I heard screams coming from the operating room.
Yikes, what on earth is this?
What are you saying? You must be a doctor.
Was it the assistant doctor who was screaming? The attending physician said to the young doctor, who seemed frightened, trying to calm him down. Nevertheless, the young doctor responded in a voice that seemed on the verge of trembling.
Even if you say that, this is the first time I've ever seen such an amazing tattoo. What should I do?
Don't panic. It won't affect the surgery.
What on earth was all the commotion about? The voices were so loud that they could be heard outside the operating room. I vaguely remembered something about a tattoo being mentioned. While the assistant seemed unreliable, I felt reassured by the confident demeanor of the attending physician and waited for the surgery to finish. And a few hours later, the surgery was over, and two doctors came out. One was the young doctor in his mid-20s who had screamed earlier. He seemed to want to say that he had seen something unpleasant. The other was the attending physician, a senior doctor whom I had greeted yesterday. The attending physician had a somewhat pitiful expression as he looked at the young doctor. Certainly, the young doctor seemed like a sheltered son of a wealthy family, if you put it kindly. I stood up and looked at the senior doctor. Beside him, the young doctor bowed deeply to me with an apologetic look and said,
I'm sorry. It's about your husband's tattoo on his back.
Hey, cut it out.
I didn't quite understand what the two were talking about. Especially, the words of the young doctor caught my attention. You've been talking about the tattoo since earlier. What does that mean? Both of them widened their eyes at my question.
Oh, madam. It's about that large demon tattoo on your husband's back. It covers his entire back, doesn't it?
I couldn't hide my surprise at the unexpected reply from the young doctor. So that was the reason Jeff had separate bedrooms. The senior doctor had a calm expression.
I apologize for the trouble. The surgery went well. Your husband is okay now.
Thank you. Can I talk to my husband now?
Yes, if you could wait for a while.
After being told so, I waited for a while and was then guided into the treatment room. There, Jeff was lying awake from anesthesia and dressed in a hospital gown. Upon noticing me, Jeff made an awkward expression.
Well, you've seen something you shouldn't have. I didn't want Sarah to see. Why are you here without being called?
Jeff's blunt attitude left me unable to even say, "Are you okay?" Perhaps Jeff is feeling uneasy about having been found out for hiding the tattoo all this time. Although the demon tattoo on his back isn't visible, it's clear around his shoulders from the hospital gown. But why did Jeff think he could hide such a large tattoo? Although I was curious, considering it was after the surgery, I thought it could wait and didn't ask anything. Jeff, still sulking, kept his head down. The young doctor asked me, "Aren't you going to say anything to your husband?" while looking at Jeff and me alternately with a puzzled expression. I didn't know what to say at a time like this. Then Jeff spoke up.
Sarah, if you don't have any business here, go home already.
What?
Your gloomy face makes it feel like a wake, and I don't like it. If you get it, get the hell out of here.
The way Jeff spoke made the young doctor furrow his brow and tilt his head in confusion. The doctor may be genuinely wondering if these two are a couple. All right, since there's nothing much I can do here, I'm heading home now, I said, and ultimately, I left the hospital as Jeff had instructed. On the way back, feeling reluctant to return home right away, I decided to eat out. As I was walking out of the restaurant, a man called out to me from behind.
Sarah.
I looked back and saw Alex, the attending physician who Jeff had taken care of earlier, standing there. Alex in a suit seems to be on his way home after work. "Hi, thank you for earlier." I was about to thank Alex for today's surgery, but he started off as if to interrupt me.
I thought Jeff had such a good wife, but it seems there's something fishy going on.
Apparently, Jeff and Alex have known each other for a while. What do you mean?
Well, pardon my bluntness, but seeing you, I had a feeling something was off. Normally, if a husband collapses at work and needs emergency hospitalization, his wife would accompany him, right?
I'm sorry if we caused any inconvenience to the hospital, I said, thinking I had caused trouble for the hospital. However, Alex shook his head in response to my words and continued.
No, it's not like that. It's just that you seemed unaware of his tattoo.
Alex seems to know something about Jeff's tattoo. I was curious and asked him for details. Alex revealed that he and Jeff were classmates in middle school. Apparently, Jeff had been quite bad since 8th grade, riding around on motorcycles with his gang. Jeff hardly ever came to school. During that time, Jeff had gotten a large demon tattooed on his back, supposedly to intimidate others. Alex, who was the student council president at the time, couldn't tolerate such misconduct from his classmate.
We were in the same class in freshman year. We weren't that close, but Jeff wasn't supposed to be a bad guy from the start,
Alex said, seeming to want to somehow rehabilitate the originally serious Jeff. Alex then got into the bad boy gang Jeff was hanging out with and tried desperately to get Jeff to change his mind.
Jeff, please come to school out of these fellows,
Alex begged Jeff as he spoke in front of the crowd of bad boys. However, Alex ended up being badly beaten by Jeff's gang. Nevertheless, Alex's efforts seemed to have paid off, as Jeff eventually attended school afterward, and even went on to high school. I had no idea about Jeff's past, so I was simply taken aback.
It seems Jeff doesn't remember me anymore, but it's good to hear that he somehow managed to turn over a new leaf and work earnestly. However, dealing with you, his newlywed wife, isn't as easy.
It's clear even to outsiders that Jeff and I don't have a normal marital relationship. Thinking about it fills me with embarrassment and a sense of shame. I'm truly embarrassed to think that even strangers can tell that our marriage is unusual. Alex lightly shook his head in response to my words.
No, it's not you who's unusual. It seems like Jeff is neglecting you in some way.
As he said that, I also started to feel the same way. For some reason, I felt like I could confide in Alex about anything. Is it because he's a doctor? Does he offer support to his patients' families in times like these? Thinking about it made me feel somewhat apologetic. I'm sorry, Alex. I didn't mean to drag you into our private matters.
Oh, no worries. Right now, I'm not here as a doctor, but as a fellow human being talking to you. While I used to confront Jeff about his bad behavior back then, now there's a different reason why I can forgive him.
At that moment, I couldn't quite grasp the meaning behind Alex's words. A different reason? I asked, to which Alex responded with a shy smile.
Well, let's put that aside for now. If you ever find yourself confused about Jeff, feel free to talk to me about anything. I might be able to help in some way.
I began to feel like I could confide in Alex, who listened to me empathetically. He knows a lot about Jeff's past. So, I thought if I told him about my current situation, he might find a way to help solve my problems. I told him in detail about the situation from the time I met Jeff until now. Alex listened silently and attentively, furrowing his brow with a serious expression.
Something seems off. What was Jeff thinking when he got together with you?
I'm not really sure about his feelings. As I answered, tears welled up in my eyes. Talking to someone made me realize that I was living a life that didn't satisfy me.
Got it. Just leave it to me for now.
I felt sorry for inconveniencing others with my situation. However, I couldn't help but rely on Alex's kindness, and my heart was filled with happiness. With Alex's support, I resolved to somehow deal with the ambiguous relationship with Jeff. The next day, I visited Jeff's hospital room from morning. Alex had informed me that Jeff's post-operative condition was stable, so I wanted to talk to Jeff. However, Jeff remained facing the window even when I visited. He refused to make eye contact. Nevertheless, I was determined to get to the truth and asked Jeff, "Why did you keep silent until now? With such a large tattoo, it was bound to be revealed sooner or later. Were you planning to hide it without establishing a marital relationship?" Jeff fell silent at my question. Then, he muttered in a low voice,
Because I thought you'd run away from me, too?
"What do you mean?" When I pressed him, Jeff began talking about his past relationships with women. According to his story, all the women who dated Jeff broke up with him as soon as they saw his tattoo. Jeff gives off the impression of a good young man who works earnestly. No one could have imagined that he had a large demon tattoo on his back. The fearsome demon on his back looked as if he belonged to some sort of nefarious organization. You were only on the wrong path until middle school, right? Why didn't you get rid of the tattoo when you turned your life around? When I questioned him, Jeff glared sharply and shouted,
I just didn't want this tattoo off.
"Why not?" I wanted to know the truth from Jeff, but he didn't seem inclined to answer. Instead, Jeff turned the tables on me.
Forget about that. How does Sarah know about my middle school days? I don't remember ever telling you about that.
I heard about your middle school days from the person who was the student council president back then.
Is that Alex?
Jeff seemed to remember Alex. But why did he keep silent even though he recognized Alex? Alex had desperately tried to reform Jeff. Even though Alex clearly remembered you, why didn't you even say a word of thanks? He helped you reform, didn't he? I questioned Jeff, who tilted his head in confusion.
What are you getting at? I turned over a new leaf because one of my buddies died in a motorcycle accident. I decided to live longer for his sake and quit riding bikes to live a straight life. This tattoo is something I got with him, like a memento.
The truth about the tattoo was revealed. Still, I couldn't shake off a feeling of dissatisfaction with Jeff's explanation. Why, Alex went out of his way to help you reform, despite facing resistance from your friends. It's awful of you to talk like it doesn't matter.
Shut up! Why do you keep siding with Alex? Do you have a thing for him or something?
Jeff confronted me like that, but I didn't feel guilty about it at all. After all, there's no reason for Jeff to be jealous while we're in such an unconventional marital relationship. I decided it was time to clarify things, so I asked Jeff directly. Don't you like me? Why did we even get married in the first place?
Well,
Jeff seemed at a loss for words. I stared at Jeff with an expression that said I wouldn't budge until I got a clear answer. Well, spit it out.
So, it's just that I lost both my parents over the past 2 to 3 years, and there's no one to take care of the household chores anymore. So, I figured I needed to get married to have someone to do that for me.
To do that. I was shocked to learn the truth about why he married me. Feeling like I didn't want to talk about it anymore, I left the hospital room. As I exited, Alex was standing there. He guided me to the lobby, saying that Jeff shouldn't hear our conversation.
It turned out just as I suspected. Shall we proceed with the plan?
Yes. I decided to put into action what Alex had suggested, considering the worst-case scenario. 2 weeks passed. Today is the day Jeff is being discharged. However, since then, I haven't visited Jeff's hospital room even once, although I heard he was being discharged. I've been busy at work for these past 2 weeks. While Jeff was hospitalized, I had to handle various procedures as the acting president of the company. Even after Jeff is discharged, he'll have to rest at home for a while. Therefore, I prepared a day's worth of meals in the morning and continued working until the evening. Since Jeff's hospitalization, he and I have grown even more distant. With fewer face-to-face encounters, there's been less opportunity for us to argue. However, for the work I'm currently trying to carry out, it's actually better if I don't have to face Jeff. About a month after his discharge, Jeff, whose health had significantly improved, visited the company. As soon as Jeff entered the company, he looked around in astonishment at the drastic changes that had taken place internally. I discreetly observed the situation from the back office.
What's going on? Everything, from the manufacturing machines to the desks for employees, it's all gone.
Employees, noticing Jeff's surprised voice, all approached him.
Thank you for everything you've done for us.
What's going on?
Jeff, unable to comprehend the situation, looked around anxiously. Seeing Jeff like that, the employees exchanged glances. Perhaps they were hesitating about who should break the news.
Well, actually, our company has been merged with Devon Industries in the same area. Starting tomorrow, we'll be re-employed there.
What? I never heard about this.
Jeff's voice, surprised by the news of the merger, echoed throughout the entire office. Sensing it was about time, I stepped out in front of everyone. "Oh dear, I'm sorry, Jeff. It was a sudden decision, so I couldn't inform you sooner."
What? How could you? A merger like this is a major issue, and it's common sense to consult with the president. Me first, isn't it?
Jeff's face turned red with anger. "Well, that's true, but unfortunately, things have gotten complicated." Saying so, I showed Jeff a photo. It was taken by a former employee who recently left the company. A photo of Jeff changing secretly in the men's changing room. It clearly showed a large demon tattoo on his back. The man who took the photo thought that the president here might be involved in something shady, so he consulted with other employees before leaving the company. And now, all the employees here also harbor distrust towards Jeff. His tattoo issue aside, there's more to the reasons. Actually, since we got married, Jeff has been leaving all the troublesome procedures at work to me. And during work hours, he's been sneaking out of the company to go gambling. There had been eyewitness reports from the neighbors, so I already knew about it. The photo taken by the former employee in the changing room captured Jeff changing when there was nobody around. It turns out the evidence was captured because that employee was delayed due to personal matters. After learning everything, other employees expressed their desire to quit, but that's when I decided to inform everyone about the merger. One of the employees addressed Jeff, saying,
"Under someone like you, we can't continue. You push all the work onto your wife and act selfishly. And besides, having a flashy tattoo on your back, isn't that a question of integrity as a company executive?"
All the surrounding employees nodded in agreement. Jeff looked flustered and muttered softly,
No, that's not it.
Well, more than that, you, who can't even cherish your wife, don't have the qualification to lead so many people.
Entering the room, it was Alex.
Alex, why did you come all the way here? It's none of your business.
No, it's very much my business. I'm the one who recommended merging this place with our company.
What the hell?
Yes, it turns out the company we're merging with, Devon Industries, is run by Alex's brother as the CEO. So, Devon Industries is Alex's family business. Alex was empathetic, realizing that I shouldn't stay with Jeff any longer. Jeff falls short not only as a husband but also as a president. So I was burdened both personally and professionally. Taking all that into account, Alex came up with the plan this time. With both home and work suffering due to his negligence, Jeff found himself in a tough spot. Realizing he might lose everything, Jeff now showed a submissive attitude toward Alex.
Can I talk to you about something? Could I possibly join a company too?
When I wondered what he was going to say, Jeff started asking Alex to hire him there. Everyone around gave Jeff disbelieving stares. Alex let out a sigh and placed his hand on Jeff's shoulder.
Well, in that case, there's no point in everyone leaving this company. Also, it's about time you let Sarah go. She deserves better than you.
Upon hearing this from Alex, Jeff quickly turned to me and interrogated.
Sarah, are you saying you want to leave me? How am I supposed to live if you're gone?
Looking at Jeff imploringly, I retorted, I'm not the kind of person who can continue a superficial relationship like this. Just so you know, I'm neither your mother nor your maid. You need to learn to take care of yourself once you're on your own, I said firmly, leaving Jeff speechless. In that silence, I handed him the divorce papers, intending to finish it off. I decided to take Alex's advice and get a job as a caregiver at the hospital. I can support myself just fine from now on, so let's get divorced. My words made Jeff suddenly flustered.
Divorce? No, wait a minute, please. Even if it's okay for you, I can't survive alone without a job. So?
Jeff, accept it. You think only about yourself without thinking about the other person's feelings. You need to be alone for a while and cool your head.
Alex scolded Jeff loudly. This seemed to shock Jeff, leaving him trembling and unable to respond. And so I divorced Jeff and left the house. While working as a caregiver, I decided to stay in the apartment near the hospital for a while. My workplace is full of young practical nurses, and I was a little discouraged after I turned 40. However, finally freed from the difficult life, I felt relieved. From now on, I aim to work hard and lead an independent life. Jeff continues to live alone in the house after the divorce. As for the company, all the employees moved away after it was absorbed by Devon Industries. And the site of the company Jeff used to run is now just an empty lot. Jeff lost his job, but he still had his own house, so he shouldn't have to worry about rent. But when I walked past Jeff's house on my way to work, I could hear men and women screaming almost every day. Even late at night, no matter how late I pass by, I can still hear loud voices, so I asked the neighbors about it. According to the neighbors, Jeff is currently cohabitating with a woman. Perhaps because he lamented about not being able to live alone, he quickly found new partner. However, the woman is said to be expressing dissatisfaction with Jeff to the neighbors. Jeff, who doesn't make any money and doesn't do any housework, seems to leave all the cooking, cleaning, and laundry to the women. The angry woman is probably complaining to Jeff and arguing with him every day. It seems they even throw things at each other during severe arguments, and the sound of glass breaking echoes throughout the neighborhood. Perhaps Jeff's concealed tattoos were discovered again at the beginning, and he's also being criticized for that. Men like Jeff seem to never learn, no matter who they end up with. The neighbors are apparently disturbed almost every day by the noise from Jeff's household until late at night. However, after a while, someone must have reported the noise disturbance to the police, and it seems Jeff was ordered to vacate the premises. According to the neighbors, the woman he was with also broke up with Jeff at the same time. By the way, I often see Jeff wrapped in a cardboard box in the park, probably because he hasn't even got a new job yet. With no fixed address, finding employment will be even more challenging for him. If he calls out to me, I will ignore him and run away. However, such worries will likely disappear in the future. I've been recognized for my work as a caregiver at the hospital, and after completing training, my salary has significantly increased. They probably took into account my over 20 years of experience as well. I also moved to a new apartment and bought a car, considering the night shifts. From now on, since I'll be commuting by car, it's unlikely I'll bump into homeless Jeff unless something extraordinary happens. I often run into Alex at work. Thanks to Alex, I become able to think positively about life. Now, I feel like I've completely regained my true self. Actually, Alex has also experienced divorce once and is currently single. Many colleagues speculate that Alex and I might remarry. However, I think I'm content with my current life. And I guess Alex, with his carefree personality, probably feels the same. I don't think Alex and I, who are similar in many ways, will ever start a romantic relationship again, but I want to continue being good friends and getting along well at the same workplace. It's rare to find a friend with whom you can discuss anything at this age.